Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unstuck Club. How are you, Di?
I am really good because the weather is cooler and we've had a little bit of rain and it just changes. It's amazing the weather, how it affects you, but just that freshness and the dust settling. We've had
Mm,
really bad fires again the last 2 days. It is so dry, very windy. And yet I know on the other end of the country down in Cape Town, I mean, they're just having insane,
and
oh, bless you, insane weather. And it is definitely affects your well-being, the weather.
yes,
It affects your
it's
mood.
affecting mine. It's affecting
Mm,
my well-being. I really
mm.
must be honest. It's the dry. I just didn't expect it to be so dry. We're waiting for the rain. The rain like just really hasn't come, and it is. Yeah, that sneeze was. I was like, don't sneeze. Don't sneeze.
We keep it real. Bless you.
Thank you so much. I'm definitely dancing in the rain. When the rain comes, I am definitely celebrating the rain. And I am
Yeah,
never going to complain. Like when it's too rainy and wet somewhere else, like I
yeah,
am never complaining again. The rain
mm,
is such a gift. It's such a gift. It really
yeah.
is. So I'm so
It
happy
is.
you got some. Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
How? Yeah.
what are we going to
what?
talk about
What
today?
are we? Yes. Well, behind the scenes, you and I are planning something really big and exciting,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, yeah. I just want to start off by saying I just watched someone else introduce themselves online. I got, when someone sends, "Oh, you must watch this person," and I'm always like, "Oh, why do you think I must watch this person?" So I go back into their posts or their videos, and I kind of have a look, and the very first thing that this person says is about keeping it real. Like, this is just the
Hmm.
honest, raw, real person that I am, and this is why I'm here. So I'm really chuffed with you and I that we do keep it so real and so
Real.
authentic. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and that we see where we are and then know how to, and it kind of navigates us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and a long time ago, I mean, it happens often, Di, you and I talk about it. I create something and then I don't really share it. Um, and that's what you and I were talking about. And it was also clear messaging that we were getting. It's time to start talking about the stuckness with money. It's time.
Yeah, and that really kind of leads into what I've been sitting with since I got home
Mm.
earlier today, because I'm part of a businesswomen's group. I think there's about 7 or 8 of us in the group. So it's over several weeks and it takes different aspects of business. And at the moment, we're in the take the practical look at your business, the income, the fine, the expenses, all this kind of thing. And around the table this morning, I kept hearing things like, "Oh, I'm so stupid at this. Like, I
Oh,
have no clue what's happening in my business. Oh, don't talk to me about taxes. Don't talk to me about fun. I don't know. It just all goes into my account. I don't send out invoices. I hate asking people for money.
wow.
Um, I hate, what if I do this talk and nobody shows up? What if I do this talk and they hate it?" And I was like, when? So my question is, when did women get so stuck around being successful in business? Because we're very good at the little hobbies and maybe venturing into joining a market one Saturday or Sunday and selling a few things. But the moment it gets real, it's like, "Oh
Mm,
no, I'm useless at this." So I kept hearing, "I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm this, I'm that." And we know that thing of saying I am. It's like you get stuck in this, "Well, I'm useless at it." Investment. I don't know anything about investment. There's so much learning material out there these days that nobody has to be stupid at anything.
yeah.
Actually, if you're really committed to learning something. And I think when John died, I'd moved, one of the things I did was I went into FNB and I opened a business account in my, first of all, I registered a business, a PTY Limited. And then I went and opened a business account for it. And I felt so grown up.
Right.
And then the next thing I did was I hired the services of an accountant. And every month I, with such gratitude, pay her. And I do my own spreadsheet of my income and expenses. And I send it off to her. And I have a professional set of books. And once a year I get my financial statements. And it's like, wow, like I feel like I'm taking myself seriously. And I'm always like, oh, I'm a grown up. But there are so many talented women doing amazing things in businesses that are going nowhere. Because they are stuck in this, I don't know if it's a lack of worth, a lack of value, or just the stereotype, like you don't worry your head about the business. It was fascinating to watch, and I know all of these women really well, and they are phenomenal at what they do. But this constant eating away at the confidence. And it was interesting that we did this today when, you've put together the Money in Me, which is coming up soon.
Yeah. I also, I am in such beautiful WhatsApp groups, like for different things. I've got my accountability buddy that was so thank you to you, which I'm so grateful for. And then I've got a beautiful circle where we all talk together, and I've got another group and we're Swifties and we all talk. And the commonality between all of us is that we're all women, right? And one thing that I really want to be grateful for and then empathize at the same time is that we have learned to trust each other so that we can be vulnerable and we can say these things. And I can imagine that there are men who are listening to this podcast, right, who are feeling the same. But the thing is that they just don't have either the space to express it, the vulnerability to express it, the words to express it. But I honestly feel that when we see all of this and we see it, it's because for whatever reason it is, we have learned as women that it's okay to say, I'm stupid at doing this. It's easier for us to say I'm stupid at doing it. I really feel like it is so difficult for men to say I'm stupid at doing it, but they could feel it. So I just want to hold space and empathize with that, because I am so very aware that at any point in time I can reach out, and it is always to a woman, right? When I'm feeling, I had another friend of mine send me a message. She's 2 years older than me, and it's interesting because it's also linked to money. She set up her Uber account for the first time, and she used Uber for the first time, and her statement also was like, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this at my age. I shouldn't be doing this at my age. And it was also just so I was so proud of her, because it is money stuff. Like Uber's money stuff, and setting up accounts is money stuff, and we are surrounded by money stuff, and we link our worth and our esteem and our value and so many things to the reflection of how we relate to money, what we've been told about money, what we have, what we don't have. And you and I have really, we've watched that with each other. Like I do say I have a business partner, right? And he does the finance stuff and he deals with the accountant, and I don't. And very often people say to me, but you should. Why don't you know what is going on? And I'm like, I'm not saying that my head is not in the sand. My head is absolutely not in the sand. I have access to the bank account. I pay for the things that I need to pay for. We also select our roles. If he had to disappear, Please don't disappear. Uh, I could pick up and carry on, and I think that that's the thing. It is, do we know that we could pick up and carry on, and have we set ourselves up emotionally and in our worthiness to know that we can run with it, and then get to choose whether we want to run with it or not.
I think, going back to men, I think men find it easier to separate friendship and business, and they often can separate emotion and business, whereas women struggle with it. And I know, like here, coming from a small town where everybody knows everybody, it's an even bigger thing. So it was really interesting to hear how it was the same stuckness around the table. And I think a lot of it also goes to how much you value yourself and what you bring to the world. And we've had a discussion about that. It's not, we worry about how it's going to be received. It's like, that's not our function. Our function is to share it. Doesn't matter, and going back to Taylor Swift, I have, thanks to you, got a bit hooked on her.
Made you a Swiftie, or we're getting there. Okay.
And when the videos, come up on the reels and that, I'm fascinated by the comments, because you'll always get one person who goes, oh, she's got the voice. The latest one was, oh, she's got the voice of a 9-year-old and she keeps singing the same songs. And, and everybody comes out and goes like, do you really think she worries about your opinion? This woman who gives millions to charity, gives so much money to her crew, is like selfless and kind and just entertains millions of people. Do you really think that she cares that you think she sings like a 9-year-old? And it's making that shift to like, I have something to offer. Yeah. And the people who resonate with it will find me. Absolutely. And, this thing about not knowing, Simon Sinek explained it so beautifully. He was in a conference where this company had brought in this consultant to do this research and then give his feedback on what he'd found. And he said all these like senior executives, whole room full of them, and Simon's sitting there with them, and this consultant is going on, and Simon's like, I have no clue what he's talking about. And he put his hand up and he said, look, I'm sorry, I don't understand any of this. Can you explain it like in layman's terms? And the next thing an executive and he said, yeah, I don't really get it either. And then another executive put his hand up and said, I don't understand this either. But none of them wanted to be the first person to say, this is gobbledygook. Yeah. I don't know what this is. And Simon always says, be the stupidest person in the room and say, I don't understand that, or I don't know.
Yeah. And we're saying, be the most vulnerable person in the room and say, I'm feeling stuck. Like someone's got to be the person who's saying, I am feeling stuck. And I look, I love my stuckness. I don't think we've spoken about this, but I love my stuckness because I believe that when I feel stuck, it means that there is a part of me that knows that I am frustrated with where I am and there is something more. Yeah. Like that is such a thing for me. When I get stuck in the loop of, and you and I we have kind of been stuck in the loop of what do people want from us? We really got stuck in that loop. If we're going to talk about money, if we're really going to talk about money, we're going to talk about, you and I sat for so long and we were like, what do people need from us? What do people need from us? And there's been a lot of that, okay? And then showing up a little bit and doing this and then not getting the response that we wanted, and then going, well, if we aren't getting the response that we want, then maybe they don't need that from us, right? Yeah. And then not doing it, and just getting feeling actually more and more stuck, more and more frustrated, and more stuck. And it is a Taylor Swift song. I can't help it that it's a Taylor Swift song, but it's a Taylor Swift song that like just got me to this point of it is not about, there are 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
There are enough people in the world to want what I have to offer. Actually, my stuckness and my frustration, and the majority of us out there in the world, is because we are trying to figure out what do people want from us, not what do I have to offer as my most authentic self.
Mm-hmm. And then knowing that you're not going to appeal, you cannot make it so generic that it's going to appeal to 8 billion people.
Absolutely. And when it comes to money and this beautiful work that we really and truly are so proud of, this building a relationship with money and me. It's what the course is called. You and I are going to be putting out a beautiful webinar series that's coming up about it. When I was working on that and slowly starting to talk to people about that, it is about the intimate relationship with money, building a conscious, intimate relationship with money, and imagining that if money was sitting opposite you, right, how would money engage with you? And money would always engage with us and say, if I had to show up today and give you exactly what you want and what you need, at the point that your esteem really is at, and at the point that your worthiness really is at, actually, the injustice is going to fall on you. You are not going to know that you have the ability to, you have the capacity to, you have the worthiness of. And I know it's a frustrating relationship that comes across with money. But when the pieces do fall into place all the time, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's clients that we've worked with, I've watched it happen with friends and family, when it does happen and money does shift, there is always this realization of, I would not have realized this about myself without the relationship, without this struggle of relationship with money. And I remember talking to someone once, and they were saying, it's a really good concept, but I can't take this to, like, I wouldn't be able to present this to someone and say to someone, you need to, I would like to introduce you to Jodene. She does this work with money. It's like, it's not serious. The message kind of was like, it's you need to have a serious take on it. It needs to have a financial take on it. And I put it away. Which is the honest truth. And then there's just been this relationship that I've been having with money now around the courses and the workshops and all of that kind of stuff. And if I imagine sitting opposite money's just going to say, well, you listened to someone else and you didn't shake it off. Like, you didn't shake it off. And that's the Taylor Swift song. Like, I didn't shake it off. I carried it on. I actually sent that video to someone today who needed to see it. And I was like, we don't shake it off enough. We hold it. And that's what's happening. Every woman that you are talking about who was in that group and talking about that is not something that they have formulated for themselves. Somewhere along the line, messaging has come to them and they have not shaken it off. They have held on to it and they have made it a part of their identity, which is not. It is not the truth of who they are.
And I think it's a lot more like a collective thing than individuals. It's maybe watching how your mother was, if dad earned the money and came home and like gave mom, the housekeeping or whatever. I think it's been like there for so long. I'm busy watching the series Lessons in Chemistry. at the moment, and it's set in the 1950s, 1960s in America. And it is absolutely that women were, they looked after the house and had the babies. Don't be expected to do anything with finance or be anything more. So, I mean, it goes back that watching the sexism and the put down of women. I mean, every now and then I was like, oh, he did not just say that to her. So it has been there for
So
a
long.
long time. It's not anything any of us have. It's so unconscious. I mean,
Absolutely.
I said, in the group this morning, I said, I'm bored of looking at my spreadsheet every month going, is that all I made? I'm bored with it now. I want to change it. And yes, I have to show up and do the work. It's not just going to change like that. But it was really in my face today, I think, that all of these amazing women have all of these insecurities around themselves, so stuck in that. I thought it was just like,
Yeah.
wow.
And I think the one thing that we've just got to like almost be cautious with is that when I started to talk, when I knew that this was going to be my direction, when I knew that guiding people through low self-esteem and the misunderstanding of manifestation, and that was how it all started for me. Like my back history is that I listened to the simplicity that had come out. It was all around The Secret. I'm not afraid to say it. The Secret opened up the opportunity for me to have my career because people it just was like this, visualize this and you'll get what you want,
Yep.
right? Imagine this and you'll get what you want, right?
Still trying, still doesn't work.
Exactly. And I speak to so many of my colleagues or my friends where we are coaches, we are guides, trying to do good in all different kinds of facets. And also being the coach and the guide is the financial advisor. And it falls into so many different realms. And then people are saying things like, and we also say it often, I'm doing what I love. Why is it not working? Or I have committed my heart and soul to this, like this is it. Why is it not working? And we keep on going back to the same place of how do I fix the tools? How do I adjust the tools?
Yeah.
How do I tweak what I have? How do I tweak my offering? Instead of going, how do I anchor my worth? How do I anchor my worth and my esteem? And I'm going to use such an interesting example because I've been saying lightheartedly, I've been eating a lot of bread. I keep on saying it. I've been eating a lot of bread. And over the last couple of mornings, I've been waking up and setting all the things in place to not eat the bread. And the reason why bread is such a thing for me is because I can literally feel that I emotionally eat it. And I always eat too much. And my too much bread shifts my weight very quickly. I know it's not good for me. We know what's not good for us, right? So it's the same. We set some kind of business intention for ourselves. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the brave step. I'm going to do something different, whatever it is. And then the littlest wobble happens. So yesterday I had a wobble. My nephew didn't have a great exam. It was so emotional for me. I was like, bread's going to fix it, right?
Yeah.
At least I'll feel better. Actually, what I'm saying, what the undercurrent of what I'm saying is, and what we do with money and what we do in our businesses and what we do in our relationships is, I don't have the capacity today to anchor my worthiness and do what's best for me. I'm going to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And the mind does the path of least resistance. The mind does the path of least resistance. And I got up again today. Did my gym, ate healthy, set all my food out that I knew what I was going to eat. There was no reason to have bread today. And then another wobble. And it was like, not today. I don't have, I'll start tomorrow. And when money's watching us do that all the time, right? And it's not even in an action. It doesn't have to be in an action. It can be in that inner critic. It can be the voice of that inner critic. So you've got everything set out for you, right? And you wake up and you're feeling that confidence, and you're doing whatever it is that has momentum in that moment. And the inner critic comes in, and you believe the voice of that inner critic, which with such empathy and compassion, I say, it is coming from every past recording of everything that has happened. It is the overprotective voice of the ego, which is the victim or the child somewhere along the line. But I imagine money like in an animation. I almost imagine money going, oh, get ready, like they're so ready, get ready, like they're ready, they're holding on to their worth, and then this inner critic comes in, and then money goes, oh, well, we can't send it now.
Yeah.
And I just imagine this, and that's why I think sometimes we see a little bit come in, like a drip, and then it's like, oh, I had half a good month this month, and then it dries up again. I can honestly say that there are a handful of people in my entire life who I have seen manage to hold on to their faith and their worthiness at the lowest point.
I don't think we realize just how much of all of this is internal. It is that saboteur. I remember a very successful businesswoman telling a story at one of the groups I was part of years ago, and she said, like, she, so it was one of those, selling where you have agents and you have a group and you're the manager, and she was always like top in the region. She went to all these beautiful conferences, and she said, I would get so far, and then I'd start to make more money than my husband, and I would start to sabotage myself. So then my agents would start acting out or drop off. Then I'd get down again, and then I'd build it up, but only to where I wasn't overtaking my husband.
Wow.
And she didn't even realize that she was actually doing it. So I do think that so much of this is what we're holding internally, where, the saboteur, the inner critic. I think that inner critic voice is so powerful.
I want to jump topics just for a second, because the inner critic voice at the moment is such a loud voice because we've just come out of Mercury retrograde. And I have wanted to speak about Mercury retrograde, and I haven't, for whatever reason I haven't, but this one is so important because it's been retrograde in Leo, and Leo asks the question, where do you want to shine? Where do you believe in yourself, and where do you want to shine? And if we have a look at the places where either we silence ourselves or other people have silenced us in any kind of way, over the last couple of 3 weeks, we will really get insight into what thoughts are making me not shine. Because even, and I say this also with such compassion, even if someone is really unkind to you, and the reason that you do not have belief in yourself when it comes to your work, your business, any of that kind of stuff, that person said it, they said it, and then it was done. But that continual perpetuation becomes the inner critic. It is, we choose to carry our wounds over and over again and not let go of them. And the thing is, it's because we don't know that we actually always need a replacement. You need a replacement of a worthy belief in yourself in order to take away the unworthy belief in yourself. And that worthy belief in yourself is sitting in the traits of who you are. It's there. It's there. So this time that we've been in right now over the last couple of weeks, and I know that maybe someone's going to find this podcast like months later or years later, and they're going to think it's not relevant because, it's not the same Mercury retrograde anymore, which is absolutely true. But then just wait for Leo full moon, wait for Leo season, wait for, just have a look at what's going on, reach out to us. I mean, that's what I'm here for, because that's always what Leo does. And it's such a big thing. We're talking about where have we allowed our light to dim because somebody may have told us that we can't shine so bright. But actually we can shine as bright as we want to. We really and truly can shine as bright as we want to. But it takes so much self-awareness. It takes so much self-awareness, so much bravery. And that's exactly what you're talking about. That someone has the potential to shine, right? And then there's this really subconscious undercurrent that literally dims the shine. And as that shine dims, so her entire business shifts. And we really are that powerful.
Yeah, and I often find that when you have that inner self-doubt, you'll always find someone who will verbalize it to you. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't, you can even not be aware that you're doubting your idea or your plan or whatever, but someone will verbalize whatever it is that you're doubting in yourself. So it's like you'll find that, like, your example of talking about the money work, and then you find the one serious person who's like, no, it needs to be this structured, it needs to be like this, and it needs to be like that. It's polar opposite to the way you present it. But somehow when we have that, like, less or like insecurity in what we're doing, you're going to find the one person who will shoot holes in it and make you think, oh, okay, maybe this is not such a good idea.
And that is where understanding your personality is so important, because you don't rectify your worthiness. You don't make yourself feel better by saying that person doesn't know what they're talking about. You fix it by finding what it is within your personality, within your very nature, that counteracts what that person has said. So in our mind, you cannot just make a low esteem perception of yourself go away. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
It has to be replaced by something that is true about yourself. You have to know that it is true about yourself, because remember, the ego is always going back into the recording and going, oh, you tried that and look what happened. And we never spend enough time going, hang on one second, you tried this and it worked. It was this confident part of you that actually created that. And if you don't manage to hold on to that, because I see it so many times with my clients, we'll find the confident trait and then they'll add that but, right?
Yes.
Oh, but it only didn't last that long. I'm like, and this is where the money work comes in, because money works in waves. Everything works in waves. Nothing is this. If something's like this, it's actually dead, right?
Yeah.
It's flatline. Yeah. It's dead.
Yeah.
It's supposed to come up and work in waves. And if you look at something and you go, well, it didn't last, then actually that's where you got to go, I'm so grateful that it didn't last, because it got to a point where I learned what I needed to learn about myself. I discovered what I needed to discover. My business got to a certain point. I had all these great things. And then when it started to dip again, instead of going, okay, now it's shifting and I must go down with that wave and I must keep my worthiness and go, what do I know about myself that I can ride the next wave? We emotionally go down with the wave.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And that's what we're really going to start talking about money and supporting people and helping people get unstuck with money and me going through the process of waves. So we're going to ask everyone to look out, because we're going to have this 5-week 5-session webinar coming up. I'm also going to talk about my fee structure and why we do what we do. And yeah, it's so important to support people. And as empathetic as I am, that it came about by you witnessing so many women with, such doubt in their worthiness and in their capabilities. I'm also grateful that it happened, because we're obviously reaching out to all those women, right?
Yeah. I'm sending them the link to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's you know what? I think it runs deeper than relationship in a person.
Absolutely.
It is
And
it's like pulling weeds. You think you've got it sorted and you think you're getting somewhere, and then it's like, oh, okay, here it comes again.
And I really, just in defense of money, like in real defense of money, I just imagine if money were vocal and were genuinely sitting opposite the table, money would say, you do not know how much I wish I could show up for you, but I can only show up for you when you see you the way I see you. That's always what I imagine money saying. When you see you the way I see you, I promise you I will be there. And that's what we've got to work through, and we're doing that at the same time, right? You and I are doing that at the same time. So yeah, there's so much empathy in this work, really. And there's also frustration. And I feel people's frustration. We both feel people's frustration, where they say, I have done everything and it is still not. And it's actually in that gap. It's in that very gap of thinking you've done everything, where there's just, what is that one thing that is keeping you frustrated? Because it's in the peace and the grace that you have done everything, and that you are worthy of whatever you are doing, and it feels like it is vibrating high for you. And if anyone comes at me and says, I've done all of that and it still hasn't come, then I'm going to say, then you didn't hold it long enough.
I mean, look, what you just said was so beautiful. It's a beautiful way to end today's episode. But that, when you see me the way I see you, that's when I can show up fully.
Yeah.
And I think it is when it's that point of frustration that you just go, okay, I give up. Enough affirmations, courses, mantras, rituals. I'm done. I think it's at that moment that very often it's like you suddenly create the space for the little spark, the idea, something new to come in. I think we're pushing so hard all the time that we actually don't let the natural order of things happen.
Absolutely. And that's in the process of waves. I'm so happy you said.
I'm very excited to get this
Good.
Going.
Thanks, Star. We needed this. Beautiful.
We did.
Good. We'll see everyone soon.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.